Rule 34, and let's search for the controversial one that recently appeared, Star Wars Outlaws.
Jesus Christ.
11 entries already. Dude, they have no fucking chill. How's it going, people? Jack here with another reaction, here to check out something new from the Actman. It's a joke, alright? I know that some people have been calling him that when he covers some controversial topics, but given the like to dislike ratio on this video, I suppose that there has not been any of that, which, by the way, is not a controversial thing. The title of the video, that is, which is video game characters too sexy? And to this, the answer is it depends. For one, do I believe that there are some video game characters there that are extremely appealing to look at and quite literally attractive? Yes, absolutely. And that goes for both male and female characters. Two, do I believe that there are some characters out there who have some physiques that seem to be unattainable for some people, but that actually are attainable? Absolutely. Dude, I'm literally shaped like a video game character. Obviously, I'm not going to be the height of, let's say, Master Chief, or walk around peeled to the gills with the body fat percentage of the likes of Kratos in the new God of War adaptation, or name a male character in a fighting game. Obviously, there are some characters whose proportions are insane, but there are some body types that are quite achievable. Name a Leon Kennedy, freaking Geralt of Rivia. These physiques, with a lot of hard work, 12 years here, can be attained for men and women as well. Which brings us to the third point, which is it not cringe when some people quite literally observe a video game character protagonist that is looking like 90% of the population? And granted, that is very generous because it's way less than that, but let's say 90% of the population, yet still people start complaining over them looking average. Yeah, I think that that's really cringe, but that's just my opinion so far. Let's see what it is that the Actman has to say about this.
Do you like hot men?
Yes,
Do you like attractive women with big
assets?
hands? What's up, everybody? This is the
Oh my god, Soul Calibur.
And today I'm bringing you my top 10 list of video game characters that I jerk off to. Number 10, Urgot. Number 9, Uncle
Lumbago.
Lately, there's been a lot of buzz surrounding the upcoming game Stellar Blade and its protagonist Eve. Many gamers are celebrating her provocative design, the exotic outfit she wears, and as a red-blooded male, I can appreciate this as well.
Sure.
Now, I played the demo, it was pretty fun, and I think Stellar Blade is shaping up to be a stellar game. On the flip side, some folk claim this type of character design is harmful because it objectifies women and displays unrealistic body standards and proportions. Now, we could ignore the fact that Eve's design was based off of a real human being, and that's exactly what we're going to do, because complaining on the internet makes me feel better than ordering the salad.
One last point. As I've mentioned, there are some body types that are quite literally achievable. Whether it is through the fact that a person has been blessed with better genetics and might not have had to work hard enough to get those. I was a hyper-metabolist for the longest time, so I couldn't gain any weight. So when I turned 18, I started working out to get the physique that I have now. And some people just stay slim or have some hourglass figures, some just naturally like that when they are female or sometime male. You wouldn't believe it. There are some that have like that X-frame naturally that is fucking crazy. But as the third point, game journalists should just stop, okay? Either they should literally talk about the economics of games, things that are factually backed up with data, or just shut the hell up because they don't know what they are talking about. They don't even play the games that they talk about.
But on the real, there is something to say about body standards in media, sexualization in video games, and how it can affect us. It feels kind of dumb to say this, but there is an ongoing debate around how hot video game characters should be. If you make a character too sexy, then it's misogynistic. But if you don't make every female a supermodel with double D honkers, then your game's woke.
Yeah.
How are you supposed to win?
Yeah, Western studios can't win this endeavor because they literally got called out for everything that they do. Literally, the other day, the Star Wars Outlaw thing. I made a video about it, where I discussed the methodology of Ubisoft and how it is that they are quite literally shooting themselves in the foot by monetizing games in the wrong way, and also some stuff about the structures of AAA studios and stuff like that. But people took what is supposed to be the actual issue and focused it all on the fact that the character did not look like a porn star. And yes, I'm going there and calling her that because literally what they spent most of the time doing was trying to either change her, like giving her like makeovers through Photoshop or whatever, and making freaking thumbnails saying that they stole her ass. Like, are you fucking serious? The character is quite literally looking like a normal person. Yet still, they would take clips or shots of areas where she has a little bit of an unpleasant look, right? And then Photoshop it slightly to emphasize just how wrong it is, how it is an offense to the female figure and women in general. Like, it's fucking strange.
Well, today that's what we're talking about. Sex appeal in video games. When is it good? When is it bad? How do you tell the difference? Let's find out. Why are games marketed like Stellar Blade?
Sex
Why are
sells.
video games now filled with soft porn heroines with ridiculously large breasts? Why?
Men are horny.
Because fellas like
women too.
big titty bitches. Next article, write some real fucking news.
He's right.
Shakespeare couldn't have said it better himself. I mean, that's about it. For a long time, gaming was a male-dominated hobby, so naturally, developers made games that appealed to men. This was much more apparent in the olden days where publishers had to rely on the box art to grab your attention. This certainly grabs...
I remember this one, the Dungeons and Dragons one. Oh my god. The days.
my attention. Hey, how's that new pinball game coming along? You know, Microsoft needs it out for the Xbox by May. Well,
Pinball?
boss, it's looking great. But to be honest, pinball on console is a hard sell. It's kind of boring. So how can we spice it up? Fuck
Pinball
it, like
trade.
this? Throw some chicks with guns and swords on it. American Pinball Reborn. Rated E for everyone. This might come as a shock to some of you, so brace yourselves. Sex sells in every industry.
I don't
No
believe it.
shit.
The same rules that apply to Hollywood and movie stars apply to gaming. People like things that are attractive. They had goddesses stand around and look pretty for the midnight release of Halo 3. Blizzard paid Megan Fox to promote Diablo 4, and that was the best thing that came out of Diablo 4. The developers of a game called Sin Episodes
The porn star. Yeah, I know of this one. Man of culture.
Emergence hired a porn star to cosplay as one of their characters.
Nice. Nice.
Sex appeal is an easy way to get the attention of men, but that's nothing new to video games. It wasn't new when Lara Croft debuted with her pyramid breasts, and it's not
Mountain
new with
titties.
Eve and her ridiculous ponytail. But what has changed is the industry. It's much more complex and diverse now. There are more female gamers than ever before, so how do we sell games to them? Maybe we could push out more dishwashing and cooking simulators? Perhaps we could sexualize women less, portray them in a more realistic, less idealized way.
No.
No.
Oh, you know that you can't do that. You know that you absolutely can't do that. There is a faction of people who are gonna lose their fucking minds if you attempt to do it. It's strange. It is extremely strange. Because mind you, there is a place for this. Some of our most iconic characters of all times are quite literally designed for the sex appeal first and foremost. So let's put out some example. The one that I will use all the time, and that I suppose also, if we were to take the dichotomy, like the both sidism, no, not the both sidism, but looking at both sides of the spectrum there, with the people that are like for body positivity, and I guess those who are anti that, who only want to have the most banging characters of all times, will always use Bayonetta as an example. Quite literally, her entire thing is to use her sex appeal for both her character, her story, to a certain extent, and every single thing regarding her gameplay. She is a paragon for female empowerment, as she quite literally trampled on her enemies. strong female character, yet still she is well written throughout all of her 3 games, yes, even the 3rd one.
Can't be serious. You bet I'm serious.
My only complaint about that one is that the scale when you're fighting certain enemies, like, it's weird, it doesn't make much sense. But she can be a strong female character that kicks ass while at the same time being a sexy ass character, as sexy as an 8-foot tall gigantus can be. People tend to forget that she's literally the height of a space marine.
Brother, I am pinned here.
On the other side of things, if we look at men, I'm pretty sure that we can find one character or two that are extremely good looking, the likes of Geralt of Rivia, for example, from the Witcher series. You can even take the Netflix adaptation if you want. He's not supposed to look exactly like that. Like, I think that the Mads Mikkelsen rendition that some people have made in the past is a bit more fitting, at least according to the books, with the headband and everything, and a mustache, actually, yes. Geralt has a mustache. I know that you can do that in game, but that is not how he's marketed. He's more like rugged with a beard. In the intro to the 2nd one, Assassin of Kings, he's banging Trish. In the intro to the 3rd one, Wild Hunt. Oh my god, I don't know why I forgot the name of that one. He is about to be banging Yennefer when she tells you to play the bloody game. And I know this is a little bit of a longer example, but these are like 2 characters, male and female, where the sex appeal actually serves a function within the game and the story and the narrative. Now, if we put them aside and look at the other side of the spectrum of the, let's say, less attractive kind, on the male side you will have characters like, I don't know, Dave the Diver, or no, a better one for something that is actually narrative, Harry from Disco Elysium. And I'm saying Harry because, for the sake of those who have not played the game yet, you can discover who he truly is. But quite literally a loser of a cop that is trying to ruin his life because his life just sucks. He's a drunkard, he has a dad bod, a face that is filled with rigor mortis, and he stinks. And the literal first thing that he says when he sees a woman for the first time is, "Can I get the fuck?" Like, we can sympathize with a character like that. We can go through his journey. We can literally associate with the struggles that he goes through. And I think that most of the people who have played Disco Elysium will agree with that. Harry is a great character. However, when there is an attempt made for a female character to go through similar things while not looking as attractive as some would want to, some people decide to get outraged about it. It doesn't make sense. Why can't we do something similar with female characters? They still retain their beauty to a certain extent, but we make them a bit more than just, you know, the sum of the physical appearance. It's possible. I'm just saying.
No, man.
No.
Shit, no, man. I believe you get your ass kicked saying something like that, man.
But I think a better solution is to sexualize men more. Picture this, Ace Attorney 7 drops, and the second case takes place on a beach. This is nothing more than an excuse for BAM! Shirtless Miles Edgeworth. Watch the fangirls go crazy. Instant 1 million copies sold within 24 hours. Capcom, you can send me the royalty checks. But seriously, if there is a major issue around objectifying women in video games, I say go ahead and objectify men too. It's not like we can change the fact that sex sells and companies are going to use it to sell products.
Sure.
So why not level the playing field a bit? Hot, ripped, muscly men, like me, which way to the beach, appeal to women just as much as they do to gay guys.
Yes.
League of Legends has just as many sexy dudes as it does chicks. I mean, just case in point.
Bro.
There's a tendency for websites such as Kotaku to post articles like Baldur's Gate 3 slyly adds jiggle physics for dicks' balls. They will celebrate when men are sexualized, but not women. Yeah.
The hypocrisy of game journalists who don't know what the hell they're talking about.
That's me, that's a little sexist, Kotaku. Lost Ark's depiction of female characters feels a decade out of place. If you're fine with people thirsting over those shirtless Leon Kennedy mods, or the mods where Chris Redfield is just fucking naked for the entirety of Village, then you should also be fine with people thirsting over Lady Dimitrescu.
Absolutely. And by the way, Lost Ark, isn't it the one where you can make like a female barbarian's proportion, like looking like a muscle mummy? Or, oh no, that's Black Desert. I'm confusing. Lost Ark is the top isometric looking one. Never mind. I'm confusing my franchises here.
Clarify, there is a big difference between what a developer makes and what their audience makes of it. Just ask Jeff Kaplan. But if we held developers responsible for the actions and words of their community, well, the Call of Duty devs would be on trial for crimes against humanity.
I know that I'm pausing a lot here, but oh my god, the Overwatch scene has revolutionized Rule 34 and all that is to do with like adult animation. One way of dismissing any of those arguments of whether or not the character is sexy or not sexy enough is literally by going on Rule 34 and looking for any of those things that people are complaining about. I will...
Don't do it.
Okay. I've done this in the past.
It isn't too late. Don't do it.
I think once. So yeah, this is not too controversial.
Just don't do it, promise?
Let us do God's work right. And yes, God for me, if one exists, is in fucking hell. Rule 34. And let's search for the controversial one that recently appeared. Star Wars Outlaws.
Jesus Christ.
11 entries already. Dude, they have no fucking chill, okay? So don't tell me that people don't find it attractive.
Particular. Let's check out some articles and see if we can find the answer. IGN France posted a review of the demo, saying mostly positive things about it. However, there was one paragraph people really took issue with. The design of the game, particularly its characters, highlights an obvious bias, and the result is not really a success. It's not new, and other games have chosen to highlight the strengths of their female characters. But where a Bayonetta stands out with an iconic character design, or a 2B inspires an entire generation of cosplayers, Eve from Stellar Blade is just bland. A doll sexualized by someone you would think has never seen a woman.
Why did you write that? Why did you write that? You stupid. You're fucking stupid. Bayonetta, 8 foot tall. Mind you, okay? I've seen some very tall basketball players in the WNBA. I've never seen them being 8 foot tall. Second. And second, B2 and her 300k plus polygon behind. What are you talking about, mate? Those are some of the two worst examples that you could have ever used for already established character, comparing them to somebody whose story we don't even know.
Is that a woman? Jesus.
There's a lot of problems with this. First off, Eve isn't even sexualized within the context of the game or the events of the demo. Like, she doesn't flirt with anyone. She's not pushing her tits together, leaning over, asking for a ride. She never says like, who wants to have sex with me? It's not even a factor at all. Like, bro, if you want to complain about hypersexualized characters, go play Soul Calibur, okay? Hop into the character creator and you can make your tits super huge. Also, the demo is like an hour long with about 15 minutes of cutscenes. That's not enough time to give like a detailed character assessment or review. So a lot of people are complaining about Stellar Blade at the moment based on assumptions, what they think the game is going to be like when it actually comes out. Comparing Eve to Bayonetta and 2B isn't fair at all because those are characters that have been around for a long time. And they appear in games that are completed and have been released to the public. Let's try another article though. Developer of Stellar Blade fails to recognize the game's sexism. This was posted before the demo came out.
Oh, no.
So just based on the 6-minute showcase, there is something striking when you look closely at the images of this aesthetically successful action game. The heroine is ultra sexy. In less than 6 minutes, we see her wearing outfits, each more improbable than the last. The message is clear. The shorter, the more skin visible, the better. Now, I'm not sure what trailer you watched, but there's like maybe 9 seconds of footage where Eve's thighs are partially exposed, but besides that, it's just her arms. Like, where is this explicit overt sexualization that I seem to be missing? Is every woman in tights supposed to be a sex object? However, we are talking about a character responsible for getting rid of an enemy threat in a post-apocalyptic context. So the old, her outfit isn't practical or realistic argument sometimes has merit. But I don't think...
Yep. Yes, Quiet is one of those weird examples. And also, of course, the typical boob armor.
It does with Stellar Blade or Bayonetta. Neither game is going for a realistic setting. Like if Call of Duty had established itself as a grounded military shooter and then got rid of military factions and threw Nicki Minaj in as a playable character, well, that would be pretty fucking cringe, wouldn't it?
Hold on, look, I've seen a clip of her being hacked to death with chainsaws from Warhammer 40k, which by the way is still freaking heresy that they include a Space Marine in COD, but at least for a split second, I had a moment of bliss.
Bayonetta is a witch and Eve is an ODST that stole Tracer's spandex. As long as they don't look stupid and they fit within the universe, I don't see either as a problem.
Also, dude is mad over realistic outfit. Bayonetta's clothes is made out of her hair. What is this person on about? Look, literally, when you summon Madame Butterfly, or when she goes and tries to explain to the enemy what the dog doing, she literally strips naked. See, this is a problem. Like, these people who are writing these articles don't know what they're talking about.
Leggings so close to the body that it feels like a second skin. This guy has more problems with the tights industry than he does with the game. That's what leggings are. She has a nice bod and plenty of outfits to customize. Gamers like customizing and playing dress up. Bayonetta is arguably more sexualized, but she's considered a paragon of female representation and strong female characters. So again, what is the actual problem? The character is simply too sexy, Actman.
Just hot.
That's the issue. It's difficult not to see a sexualization of women, a practice which tended to disappear in the latest video game productions. Did you forget what won Game of the Year in 2023?
What I like the most is that every companion is so extremely fuckable. I wanna fuck all of them. I do not only wanna fuck all of them, I wanna be with them forever.
I'm sorry. I can't get over the fact that she started speaking about it while having a character who I suppose she chose to play through a Dark Urge run, which is just so fitting with the whole thing about wanting to fuck everybody. Oh my god. Oh, this is comedy gold.
Is that every companion is so extremely fuckable. I wanna fuck all of them. I do not only want to fuck all of them, I wanna be with them forever, for the rest of my life.
However, this choice is 100% assumed by the developer with arguments that are beyond belief. The director of Stellar Blade attempted to justify the project's irredeemably sexy argument. In terms of design, we focused on the back of the character because players are always facing her when playing. That's what they see the most, so it's very important. We didn't know that a character's charisma is first measured by the perfection of their posterior. Jesus Christ, man, go touch grass. When I play a game, I want to see someone who is prettier than me. I don't want to see someone normal, I want to see an ideal. I think it's important for entertainment, and after all, it is entertainment aimed at an adult audience.
What you say is heresy.
These are the unbelievable arguments. I wanted my video game protagonist to look good. How could you say something so brave, yet so controversial?
I'm sorry, this recalls one thing. The other day, when I was searching for some info on Star Wars Outlaw to make my previous video, I stumbled on some very strange comments. And I think there's one here that I screen capped just because it felt a bit sad. And not because I want to expose anybody, I won't show the name of the individual, but this is literally the conversation that they wrote. I play video game for entertainment. I find it entertaining when I'm playing as a cool fucking character. If I'm playing as a guy, I want him to be handsome, cool beefcake of a man. If I'm playing as a lady, I want her to be a beautiful, cool woman with curves and a thin waist. Maybe even boob armor. Does that make me a bad guy? I think it comes down to the psychology of wanted to identify with a character. I'm sorry, some of the vocabulary here is messing with me. Hold on. Or I want to emulate that character. I am by no means an ugly person, but I could use some work. So when I'm going to spend a couple of hours role-playing in a fantasy simulation, I want my avatar to be fucking cool. And it turns out that being in shape and genetically gifted with good looks is cool. I never played Halo and thought, man, Master Chief would be more relatable if he was my height, took anxiety meds, and had a hard time fostering interpersonal relationships. That last part, like the rest that is listed above is cool, but that last part is very telling. People have a tendency of like passing their insecurities through the characters that they play. Some, like myself, like to do a lot of self-insert. I am pretty like secured in my sexuality, my looks and everything, so I have no issues showing myself or even putting myself in situations that might be embarrassing or whatever. I'm secure with that. Some people have severe anxiety. Some people have difficulty with creating interpersonal relationships. And so they want to cosplay or play as a character who does not have that. But then again, if you are put in a position where you get to control a character that does not have the features that you are looking for, you can't just start spilling like your insecurities onto them and say that the character sucks just because it does not reflect the ideal that you want to have. That is equally as weird as a person who says that just because a character is pretty, you shouldn't be allowed to play as them or whatever. Like, I think that with this whole discussion regarding the sex appeal of video games, people need to take responsibilities to their own feelings about the things that they see and hear. Because a lot of people don't do that.
Like, this is sexist now? Well, shit. I don't want to be sexist and play this, so from now on, I'm only playing games with ugly protagonists. Like, they just made a hot protagonist and gave her a bunch of outfits. That's it. And for some, that's the issue. The unrealistic body standards that are detrimental to women who consume this sort of media. And we'll get into that later on. But I want to look at some good and bad examples of sex appeal in video games. You see, it's not whether you sexualize characters in a video game, it's how you do it. Games like Baldur's Gate 3, Cyberpunk, Dragon Age Origins, KOTOR, and Mass Effect offer a diverse cast of male and female companions to simp for. And they all feel like real people. Their personality is not solely defined by how sexy they are. You can fuck bears in Baldur's Gate 3 and you can fuck aliens in Mass Effect. There's also options for same-sex romance, and you don't see too many people complaining about that. If you're gay or a little bi-curious or just want to see how those romances can play out, those options exist. They add diversity to a game, an RPG, in a very good way. You know, this old reliable clip.
But those don't get brought up because the game is successful. That's what happens, unfortunately. Like, I fully agree with all that he says here, but remember last year before Baldur's Gate released, the whole controversy that was all about that, which was, again, on the unfortunate thing, I don't want to make it sound as if being a centrist and being in the middle of this argument is the best decision to always make, because it's not always the case. Sometimes taking a hard stand against something can be good. But literally last year, there were game journalists championing the fact that you could do all of these wonderful things after they got to see the showcase made by Larian Studios before the release of the game. And there were some conservative individuals, unfortunately, a lot of them are conservatives, who were absolutely hating on how it was that Baldur's Gate was going to degrade society and how gaming culture is, and the woke left was pushing all of the insane stuff onto people. Then the game came out, was a massive success, and you didn't hear a peep about that. Now today, this very individual who are trashing on Baldur's Gate are using that as an example as to what Western developers are supposed to do. That's the hypocrisy that I absolutely hate, that people just jump on trends to hate on things without even, like, caring, just because it gets them clicks. It's weird. It's really weird. And the fact that individuals are, like, just eating that bait is even weirder.
is actually relevant to the discussion for once.
I wrote a blog post a while ago about why I f***ing hate video games, because this is what it does. It appeals to like the male fantasy.
Wait, this isn't the right video. Here, hold on, I gotta switch to... You know what? Fuck it, keep it rolling.
Okay, this is actually satisfying.
Oh my god, shirtless John Marston! But Red Dead 2 is the perfect game to illustrate the power of diversity. And perhaps sex appeal. Because RDR2
he's been playing it a lot,
appeals to the male and female gaze. Just as you can customize the outfits for Eve, you can do the same with Arthur. There are compilations of women thirsting over Arthur. And all I gotta say is, back off ladies, he's mine.
And then I also just weirdly really liked the, oh my god.
God damn.
Really? I'm so jealous of her. I'm so jealous.
He's the new Geralt, isn't he?
Wonderful assistant directors.
New. Oh my god. Red Dead is 6 years old. Ah, time flies so fast.
And Aldous, he says, Raj, we got to do those horse lines again. I was like, why? He said, well, it's a little too intimate. You know, it sounds like you're not talking to a horse. And I was like, what do you mean? And he played it back, and I was like, you're all right, girl.
And if I can thirst over Sadie Adler like a parched baboon,
Sadie Adler.
then hell yeah, I hope women who play RDR2 can simp for Arthur Morgan. Again, it comes down to both of these characters feeling like real complex people that you can just inherently find attractive. It's called personality. There's no...
Yes, and that goes a long way. You can have that with even not so great looking characters. Like, I remember last year, while playing Rogue City, the Robocop game, I mentioned how when I was younger I had a massive crush on Nancy Ellen, the partner of Alex Murphy in the movies. I had the biggest crush on Nancy Ellen.
They obviously don't want to be disturbed.
The thing in the movie was that they wanted her to be as desexualized as possible. So they rendered her into like a tomboy, which of course she played into herself. All the issue was that I was into that shit. And like characters like them today, if introduced in this current climate, I absolutely know for certain will be hated, despite them being like championed as like strong female characters that are supposed to be what strong female characters should be doing instead of being turned into Mary Sue's. For example, the Sarah Connor type with her facial structure. Ripley, freaking Janet Vasquez, will be confused today for being men.
Hey Vasquez, have you ever been mistaken for a man?
No. Have you?
But based on their personality alone, they were bumped up so much higher on my personal scale. Like, it's like there's supposed to be like an objective standard of what men themselves want to say. It does not, okay? Literally, by looking at Rule 34 there are guys who will get off of anything.
No mystery behind good writing. It boils down to the developer's intentions and goals with their characters and their game. If you want to make a graphic visual novel kind of game, probably don't call it Sex with Hitler. It might be a good start. And there are egregious and what I would consider bad examples of sexualization in video games. Isabella from Dragon Age 2 is just this smelly pirate hooker. Like, that's mostly her character. Now, I'm biased because I'd rather eat goat diarrhea than play Dragon Age 2, but even then, Isabella still has more going on.
Oh, come on, Dragon Age 2 ain't that bad.
She's mostly a smelly pirate hooker, but my issues with her character have more to do with the romance system. It isn't just writing. Bad sexualization can be tied to the game mechanics. You want to romance this character? Just hit the icon with the heart on it. You'll be contracting gonorrhea in no time. I don't mind the dialogue wheel on Mass Effect, but when it comes to gaining approval or influence with characters and romancing them in an RPG, I much prefer titles like KOTOR and Dragon Age Origins, because you have to figure out and pick the dialogue option that a character will respond to. You actually have to flirt and rizz them up. You know, maybe there was a Time Splitters Future Perfect joke that went a little too far.
You go first.
Okay.
But the over-sexualization in that game is part parody and part fan service.
That's why The Witcher, for example, is a great one. There are literally scenarios, besides certain, like fucking Kira Metz, as soon as you meet her, she just already wants to jump into Geralt's pants. But in the case of Trish, Yennefer, or even Dany, you need to work for it. There's literally a moment where if you try to romance both Trish and Yennefer to get with the both of them, they can get you in a situation where you get with neither.
What about me? Don't I get any?
You just got exactly what you deserve.
Hey, this isn't funny.
Like, you need to navigate those waters knowing the things that you need to do, the scenarios that you need to have activated, and the missions that you need to have completed to get them raised up. It feels natural, it feels human, and that goes a long way into making, if that is the extent of where you want to go with like a romance option with a character, it makes it believable and acceptable. Like, if you literally reduce a character to like Evelyn Parker level when Adam Smasher tells her that
you look like a cut of fuckable meat, are you?
Then I don't want to play that character, nor have anything to do with her.
Personally, I have always found Ivy Valentine's design to be hilarious and over the top, and that has been a topic of debate for a long time. But her design is also iconic. She has earned a place in gaming culture. Some female characters are defined by their sex appeal, while others ride the line in between. Samus is hot, but she's also like a real person, kind of. Dead or Alive Extreme Volleyball takes sex appeal to an extreme level, and it's mostly a gimmick, but at the same time, the game was an impressive display of physics. On the other hand, you've got something like the new Fable trailer, which a lot of people reacted negatively to. They blasted the design of this female character, and, well, she does look pretty silly. I think people would have reacted a lot better to this trailer if they had taken the angle of, our protagonist is the antithesis of your typical hero, and she's thrust into the role of being a hero. But
I think that kind of was part of the thing that they wanted to do. However, it came out as being a lot of pandering. Even with the dialogue that Richard Ojello was saying. Right? Did I pronounce his last name correctly? Ojello? I'm sorry, Richard. It's not like he's watching the thing, but I think that was the intent of the trailer. There was a whole thing about like the age of heroes is over, and yeah, it came off as being very pandery-like. But granted, it is literally Fable. Not a game that is renowned for having like beautifying features. A lot of characters in Fable kind of look very uncanny, and I think that if you scroll to the comment section of that video, people will be worrying about that, why she looks so uncanny. Literally because that's, I think that she's supposed to represent like a character that you design yourself. And also, I'm sorry, I know that a lot of people would have been using this clip here of her as soon as she turns around, right? Yes, this right here. A lot would have made use of that as like the meme character, but do not look at her face for a little second. And look at her body, slender frame, slender waist, long hair, and literally as she turns around, and she's literally being called in the trailer, if I remember correctly,
massive weapons.
Wanker.
It's supposed to be a joke.
Reacted negatively to. They blasted the design of this female character, and, well, she does look pretty silly. I think people would have reacted a lot better to this trailer if they had taken the angle of, our protagonist is the antithesis of your typical hero, and she's thrust into the role of being a hero. But the trailer doesn't try to tell you that story. This character is just kind of ugly for no real reason.
And then again, you could use that argument to the same point that he made about Eve in Stellar Blade. You could just say that Eve is just sexy for no reason, but the reason is obviously that she's there for a sex appeal. And while this one might just be here for selling to a different audience, right? We know neither of the two character stories, we just know that they're there to sell to specific audiences. that does not mean that the one or the other is trying to ruin what female is supposed to look like. And this one is most likely the look that a lot of women out there must have. And while this is obviously like an unflattering angle, I'm pretty certain that you can find some shots in the trailer where she looks decent.
Like in Beautiful Joe, you play as a comic book movie nerd who gets sucked into the movie and has to become a hero, even though he's a fucking nerd. He's the antithesis. That could have worked for Fable, but they don't really tell that story in the trailer. So it comes across like it's made to appeal to the body positivity crowd, and a lot of gamers just don't care for that. I don't think we've seen really bad examples of sexualization in video games in a long time. Custer's Revenge is one of those notoriously awful games, which they hit the double whammy. They were racist and sexist, and they made the game that way deliberately to generate outrage and publicity. Some tactics never go out of style. Duke Nukem Forever is also an awful example because the game was terrible, wasn't worth the wait, and a lot of the jokes just weren't funny.
Power armor is for pussies.
Well, okay. So it felt outdated. Recent worst example of sexualization, of course, goes to Ride to Hell Retribution. You kill a group of dudes and then immediately start banging a chick with all your clothes on. Women are quite literally an objective in Ride to Hell. Man, that fucking game. But going back to the real issue, body positivity. Unrealistic body standards in video games, and by extension all media. Multiple studies have shown that both women and men feel lower levels of self-esteem when consuming media where characters have that ideal body. Now, you don't really need a study to tell you this, because if you're a dude and you've ever watched 300 and thought, damn, I'm a fat ass, well then you're just like me. But you also probably don't think about what Gerard Butler went through to look that good. In the same way you probably don't think about how much time game developers spend on creating attractive characters, how much concept art and designs they have to create. But the problem with feeling insecure about your body image is an issue that nobody can fix but you. Feeling like your body type is being represented in media is a surface level solution that ignores the real issue. I think a lot of people who write these articles essentially complaining that characters are too sexy, I think that comes from a place of insecurity or just a grift. Every woman on the planet has struggled with her self-image, and to all the ladies watching this right now, you look great without makeup. And every man has struggled with his own physique and confidence. It's pretty funny, there was this tweet, Microsoft urges developers not to create female characters with exaggerated body proportions. And I replied, yes, of course, we wouldn't want any exaggerated body proportions.
Oh, fuck no. Have you seen the director? The house director for Gears of War.
On male characters, it might make us men feel insecure. And if you look at the replies, well, first off, this is the guy who was the art director for
fucking unit, yes. What an absolute unit. Yeah. Self-insert, of course, a little bit exaggerated to some degree, but yeah.
Gears of War. Also, I recently reviewed the first Gears of War. You shouldn't watch that video at all. That's how reverse psychology works, right? Okay, sweet. But a lot of people in the replies were like, I aspire to be Marcus Phoenix. I live 7 days a week trying to look like Marcus Phoenix. I must go to the gym more. I'm feeling a strange and sudden urge to hit the gym. The men in Gears of War aren't realistic, but the women are.
Dude, her tits are way too big. That is clearly like a C.
That's true.
It looks like it was made by like a horny 15-year-old, and we're trying to be a little bit more mature than that.
And this goes back to the, do they have realistic outfits or not? And I think Cliff is right. If this lady had huge knockers, it would just kind of distract from the war, you know? But seeing ideal beauty or attractiveness in media or video games,
she'll help you work on yourself.
Insecure, you should use those feelings of insecurity to better yourself.
That's true. And I say that also to my friends or guys who ask me for advice. When it's solicited, obviously, I will tell them the same thing.
Go on a walk, eat healthier food. Ideally, that's what people would do, but that's not always the case. If you're trying to condemn or criticize a piece of media because the characters are sexy and that made you feel bad about yourself,
that
sounds
problem.
Like a you problem.
Yeah.
I hope you work on that. Lord, grant me the strength to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. None of us can change that sex sells. It's a marketing tool. You can't get rid of it in media or business. So the best thing to do is become the best version of yourself. In my experience, actual sexism in video games happens in voice chat or mostly at the studios. And I think focusing too much on whether this character is too hot or not distracts from the conversations people should be having about how women are treated in the workplace and in the game industry. What's really obnoxious is when people try to Photoshop official character art to be more or less sexy.
Yeah, that's weird.
Prove some kind of point? Is it just me or is this shit kind of weird? Like, hey, the marketing for GTA 5 would have been much better if the chick with the cell phone was fatter. What? Why did you do this to
What? She's not even human.
Cortana? What? She's a fucking man-made AI. She's not a real person. Are some of these body types really that unrealistic?
No.
We live in a world of plastic surgery, for God's sake. Then there was Horizon Forbidden West, where there was like a couple shots in one of the trailers where Aloy looked a little chubby, and some people started freaking out about it. And they were like, well, what would she look like if she slathered a bunch of makeup on her face? I just think obsessing over this kind of stuff isn't healthy. If you're going to obsess over it, then do so in the gym. It's important to note that the problem with this whole debacle is not about Eve's design. The problem is quite simple. A game developer and thousands of internet users are bluntly describing Eve as an ideal woman, the only woman that men want to see. Also, labeling Eve as the only kind of woman men want to see is wrong on so many levels. Dudes will thirst over anything with a pair of tits.
Absolutely. I've heard some people complaining about, I think I mentioned that before, the whole thing about how there seems to be a change in narrative where like men have become a bit more fragile and are throwing tantrums and are not as secure in themselves as they used to be, whereas women nowadays, female protagonists, are depicted as being these badasses and stuff like that. And like, complaining about that and how that makes them less attractive. Did use the example of Kratos, the fact that he's become a lot more vulnerable. Like, dude literally has a character arc, but no, we can't have that. And then saying that even characters like fucking Lara Croft, the new Lara Croft, is not attractive because of how she is somehow now a strong female character that has less hunkers. Like, just stuff like that make my brain stop working. Like, Lara fucking Croft.
Oh no, not again.
Rule 34. Lara Croft. Look at this, okay? Lara Croft Classic, 6,000 entry. Lara Croft Survivor, nearly 12 fucking thousand entries.
It belongs to the free market system.
Specific outlets for this content, and now needs to be injected into all media to cater solely to them. How is this any different from putting realistic body standards in video games to cater to a different crowd? It's not. What? Company make product because want money? Dove is challenging narrow beauty stereotypes within the games industry with a new campaign that promotes avatars that look like real women. Again, you have to remember that these companies are fucking massive and they're making these decisions because they think it's going to increase revenue. You've got Stellar Blade, which is like, hey, let's lean a little bit into sex appeal to sell the game. And then you've got, let's portray women in a normal way to sell the product.
Yeah, and you have games like Tribal Hunters that are for more chunky individuals.
In conclusion, the Federal Reserve is run by hyperinflation fetishists.
A product to sell for anybody.
And both of these things are fine, but you can't pretend you're better than the opposite side if your end goal is the same. Money. Now, some people are only going to care about what Stellar Blade represents in their ongoing culture war, but at the end of the day, what matters most to folk like me is if the game is awesome or bad. Is Eve going to be a flat, lifeless husk? Or an interesting character who just so happens to be a baddie with a gap that won't quit? In conclusion, Rule 34 has been around for about 20 years. People are going to sexualize your game and your characters even if
whether
you don't.
You want it or not.
Sex appeal in gaming isn't inherently a problem, but there are pretty clear ways of doing it right and doing it wrong. Instead of wasting our energy discussing things that will never change, maybe we should focus on the design and fun factor of the game, if it's visually appealing, or God forbid how women are treated in the actual workplace in the game industry. The recent controversy around Eve and Stellar Blade isn't a new phenomenon. I think it's ridiculous to criticize it for shallow reasons like the character is too hot, it made me feel bad. And it's equally absurd to criticize a protagonist that isn't hot enough. Is the design good or not? Does the character have a reason to look like this? Sure, there are some instances of objectification and bad sexualization in video games, but in my experience, these are pretty rare. Unrealistic characters can affect the average Joe or Jill's self-esteem, but at the end of the day, you have to learn how to be happy with your own image. Nobody can do that for you. Your self-esteem is not the responsibility of some multi-billion-dollar corporation. Sex sells, and you can't fight that truth any more than you can fight gravity. That's the way it is. So thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you did. Let me know who you think the sexiest video game character is in the comments below. All right, everyone, that's all I got for today. This is the Sexy Man signing out. Peace.
Sexiest video game character, me. But yeah, overall great video from the Actman here. I absolutely agree with his point there of people really needing to focus on the more important things within the gaming industry and how, for example, women are treated at the workplace. That is way more important than the other one. Like, fine, I totally agree, and kudos to the lady here who is sharing her likeness to the character of Eve, and most also her voice, I suppose. Hopefully, she is not just a mute character and actually gets to do some other sort of performance. Well, I guess that will have to be translated then in English by another VA if that is the case. But I'm certain that some people are praising her over the fact that her body type even exists in real life and that she's a real woman. But in the same way that people are rejoicing over that self-insert, you can also be mad over the fact that self-insert of other kind and other body types also exist, because then it starts getting weird. Like, as a little bit of a final point here before we close, how many video games in the last few years, since let's say 2016, 2017, have you gotten to play where it was a female lead? I think that I can perhaps count 10, and some might even say that that is quite a lot. Like, let's start with a bit of a cheating one. Cyberpunk 2077. Obviously, cheating because you can play interchangeably between a man and a female character, and you can create whichever you want. Dishonored 2, right? Is it 2016? I think it is. Dishonored 2, where you can play as either Corvo or Emily. Jesus Christ, that almost slipped my mind there. Yeah, or as Emily. A Plague Tale's Requiem I got to play as well. Still Rising, also a little bit of a weird one, as the actress is playing a robot and her vocabulary is very small. The Returnal, which is a great one. Please check that game out. You get to play as this female astronaut who gives a run for her money to Samus Aran. She's a badass. And also the story is fucking weird but great. Bayonetta 3, Wanted Dead. I have a review on that on the channel if you care to watch. Please do yourself the service to do that. Horizon Forbidden West for guys who are not scared of the fact that women also have hair on their faces. Control, featuring Courtney Hope, who was also a character in Quantum Break, the game with Actman. If you want to play a Remedy game that has nothing to do with either Max Payne or Alan Wake. Alan Wake 2, and I think that's 10? Well, I can think also of Lost Legacy, the Uncharted game there. But yeah, that will be 10 then, where you literally have female voice actresses that have the likeness shared in these games and quite literally looking the part. So yeah, you can have that. They exist in the plenty. And do yourself the service of playing something else. A varying amount of games, of genres is great. Great narratives exist out there. Don't just focus on one thing that perhaps appeals to the male fantasy. I kind of lost track of thought there for a little bit. This has been a long video. Many points that I made regarding this thing. I understand why some people can get passionate about this, because like it gets weird and some of the arguments sounds kind of odd, but hopefully this was entertaining to you and you liked it. But to the answer of his question of the sexiest characters in gaming, I will say for the female ones at least, that's what the ones that I will remember, Chun-Li and Cammy White. I can't escape those two, and Shiva from the Resident Evil series. She holds a weird place in my heart. That being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. Wish you all to have a wonderful day. See you guys on the next one. Bye.